Do you realize that you are a node in a network, and you don't have to have a YouTube channel. You don't have to have a social media following. I certainly don't. But what hopefully you do have is just really admiring the malleability of this pomegranate juice. I think one of the most compelling characteristics of liquids is that they're aptly characterized by that really famous Bruce Lee quote. So what he said is that you should be formless, shapeless, like water. Now, if you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put it into a glass, it becomes the glass. And if you put water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. My hope in this video is to offer you a container that you will have sufficient mental malleability to then occupy. I want to share some really powerful anecdotes from yesterday and then 12 years prior. And basically what I'm going to be doing in this video is hopefully inspiring you by comparing and contrasting a day in my life and what that entailed, and the impact, the effect that I was able to have on other people. And maybe that's not for you, at least you think. You don't have any aspirations to start a YouTube channel, to gain a social media following, but that's fine. What I'm talking about is something else. Being an engaged entity, being actively engaged with your life, and having your sights set on something substantive that you love, man, that you breathe in and out, and that people can just palpably appreciate off of you. And then through osmosis, merely osmosis, you affect them because of your passion that emanates through your pores. And this is passion that I frankly have always had in some sense, but I didn't have the right direction. So I want to give you a map. I want to give you a container that you can shapeshift into, but you have to have the mental malleability of liquid. You have to do what Bruce Lee said, be formless and shapeless like water, and fill the container within which you're placed. And so if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to update your mental model, then consider the following. Jason Jr. graduates from high school. It's 2012. And that summer, I get a job as a DSP, a direct support professional. And what I do is I work amidst 5 individuals with brain traumatizing injuries, these BTIs that they had endured earlier in their life. And they found themselves at one of these homes that would be sponsored by the profits generated by the nonprofit organization Goodwill. If you've heard that before, maybe you've seen some of those retail outlets, and some of the workers often will be folks with these brain traumatizing injuries. So my job was not least to drive them to their job, but also to physical therapy appointments, occupational therapy appointments, and so on. Now, at this point in my life, I just didn't have a lot of confidence, as you might imagine. I didn't have a lot of self-efficacy. I was very shy, but I was actually getting into fitness, and I was really consciously curating my diet. I can remember bringing, this is just the map that I was following at this point in time, just doing my best. The whole idea of chicken, rice, and broccoli. I had some canned salmon as well that I would bring to work. Now, the truth is that I was passionate about the idea of becoming fit at this young of an age. But the truth is that all of my coworkers kind of had like this low vibration. I can remember they would gossip and just engage in this peripheral pettiness that I just found incredibly unremarkable, if I'm just being perfectly honest. It just didn't really resonate with me, especially after I encountered the work of Leo Gura with Actualize.org, and I encountered this idea of being able to systematically level myself up, improve my psychology, and read a number of different books, Maxwell Maltz's psychocybernetics, not the least of which, to ascertain the idea of a growth mindset and to realize that the fixed mindset that I had and the idea of who I even thought I was and what I was capable of was just this glass ceiling that I couldn't even see. Just as Maxwell Maltz would aptly articulate the idea of the self-image. So during this job, what I would see are my coworkers bringing, I believe, let's see, this is 900, I believe, in 46 milliliters. No, actually, so this is 1 liter, 1,000 milliliters. They would bring, it must have been a 2-liter plastic bottle, a micro and nanoplastic leaching bottle of an acidic solution, by the way, which augments that process of microplastic leaching into the solution. I believe it was Pepsi or Coca-Cola. And I just couldn't believe that. You know, here I had aspirations of gaining a lot of muscle, becoming a more aesthetic individual, and these folks just did not care. They had no higher level aspirations. Good and well. I'm 100% outcome independent, and I think nothing of that. I am a free choice absolutist, and it's water under the bridge. That's okay. But what was interesting is that, as my future mentor Luke pointed out in 2015, this guy who lived halfway around the world in Australia, he pointed out the fact that I was embarrassed. In his words, I was ashamed of being a recreational bodybuilder, of having this really consciously curated diet and sophisticated workout protocols that I would adhere to. And it's true. I was ashamed because I felt like I would be ostracized, and I didn't really have the confidence to just set the frame and to realize that what I was doing was incredible, whether or not somebody else wanted to follow suit. I was outcome dependent, and I really cared a lot about how I was being perceived as an individual, especially one day when I'm consuming tuna, mercury-riddled tuna out of a can, and my coworker Nicole smells it from halfway across this house, this cottage that I was working in. I was like halfway down to Mike's room, right? And I'm eating off in like this little office that I'm kind of like hiding in because I don't want people to see me eating the healthy food. See, healthy food was like, no, like that was the bad thing. Now, I hope you're getting a sense and intuiting the fact that it's a bad thing is as obnoxious as it is relativistic. So if I were in a differently curated crowd, then that same food would be accepted. And so it's just the fact that I was amidst individuals who were not seeking higher level aspirations. So Nicole smells this from a mile away. It never ceases to amaze me, the seemingly greyhound level olfactory senses that women have. Holy mackerel, man, it's amazing. And I just felt like such a bad boy when she was smelling this fish. And that was, I believe, the last day that I had brought this to work, at least on days that she was working, because I was just so ashamed of that. And I didn't have the self-efficacy and the frame control to just not be bothered by that. Now, to be fair, even to this day, like, yeah, I don't want to be unpleasantly introducing these, odors that are emanating in an environment that are offensive to people. And so that is something that would actually bother me, but for a different reason, for just the reason of expanding my circle of concern and being aware of how other people are experiencing that situation and then adjusting to that appropriately. Now, I had an experience yesterday that I think hopefully you'll see compares and contrasts with this former experience in a way that just shows you hopefully what is possible when you become more confident and you become more passionate about the process of self-improvement and whatever that flavor that may entail for you. Just physiological optimization is something that just really hits home to me because I had this rare, apparently incurable disease, eosinophilic esophagitis that I was having to contend with the consequences of. And I found that to be really unpleasant. Just the prospect of food hundreds of times, impacting my esophagus, leaving me unable to speak and barely able to breathe. And just when I think about that, hindsight being the 2020 that it is, in retrospect, and just realizing that all of the players of my past doing the best that they could, handing me the map that they had memorized, a map that just led me off of a cliff unbeknownst to them. These people loved me. My allergist, Scott Dyer, my gastroenterologist, Cheryl Blank, who was a pediatrician, among other things. These people really cared about me and they gave me the best map that they could. But now looking back and realizing that that process, that disease process, that chronic inflammatory process was reversible, that I could find my freedom. I didn't have to worry about going to this restaurant Friendlies with my girlfriend Dana. That sounds like more of a masculine name, I guess, in hindsight. Dana. And being really worried about food impacting my esophagus, saliva accumulating on top of that bolus that would get stuck, having me choke on my own food, unable to speak, having to beeline it to the most adjacent bathroom to, in a desperate attempt, get some tap water in my mouth that I could toss and wash and clear my airway. It just amazes me as to what is possible when you fix your physiology, you optimize your endocrine system, and it's just something that I hope other people get to experience the benefit of. And it's something that I'm really passionate about. So yesterday, I'm meeting a few different people who I'd never worked with before. I'm a floating pharmacist right now circulating the southern state of Maine. And there was a pharmacist who I was cross-covering with yesterday, Ryan, and a couple of technicians as well, who I had the pleasure of meeting and working with throughout the day in Yarmouth. And here's the thing, I am not trying to sell them on anything. At this point, I just don't even care about how I'm being perceived. I'm just living my life. I'm bringing my 100% stainless steel bottle with vapor distilled from a stainless steel receptacle into glass container. That's what I'm drinking. I'm not advocating this. I'm not selling this. I'm living this process out. I'm breathing it. And the results spoke for themselves, apparently. I showed Ryan that before and after picture. I told them about the journey that I've been on that really hits home to me. And I told them that I'm just getting back from having spent time with my mentor, Luke, in Australia, who taught me all of this information. He gave me a new map that I'm really passionate about, that took me to the promised land. And this led to a series of in excess of 40 questions that Ryan posed to me throughout the day. I love that. I love somebody who's interested, because I don't often meet people who are as enthusiastic as I am. I mean, I was the type of person who would bring a notebook and a pen to my job as a pharmacy intern at this hospital, and I would take notes on these different social interactions that I would have throughout the day, and just getting a sense of how I could put my best foot forward. How could I present myself in a more palatable fashion so that I was more digestible to other people? Not so that I could be this chameleon and just fit in, but rather to risk, as Jim Carrey would say, being seen in all my glory. You can always fail doing something that you don't want. So why not take a chance on doing what you love, on being yourself, emanating authenticity? I would literally take notes on this. And so when Ryan posed in excess of 40 questions to me, I gave him everything. He gave me an inch, and I gave him a mile. Because somebody who's willing to meet me halfway, somebody who has that innate curiosity, there's a gap, man. There's an opening. They are receptive. And I'm more than happy to pay forward the information that I am so fortunate and so eternally grateful to have discovered 10 years ago, nearly 10 years ago, in 2015, when Luke started to mentor with me and learning about the dangers of industrial seed oils, which is just to scratch the surface of an incredibly dense iceberg that Ryan and I got to excavate yesterday. And I'm really grateful for having had that opportunity to not have had the sequence of sounds that I was uttering fall on deaf ears, to not have it go in one ear and out the other. And my hope for you is to see not just the content of going seed oil free, of emphasizing saturated fats, of optimizing your sleep with mouth tape, the cotton eye mask, and the works. I've got a lot of different videos on my channel discussing the how-to and those logistics in autistic detail. And this idea of really embracing masculine mastery, doing so in a methodically sound fashion, but then seeing hopefully the meta point of this, of what you could become, not just the content, but the structure. Do you realize that you are a node in a network, and you don't have to have a YouTube channel. You don't have to have a social media following. I certainly don't. But what hopefully you do have is passion, and that passion through osmosis infects people in the most productive way possible, and it inspires people, and they love that, man. They want that for you. People are rooting for you. They want to see you find their freedom, and that freedom that you find and that authenticity that you emanate, that's beautiful. And that's this tacit invitation that you offer the world, man. You move people. You can move people and you can inspire them, and they can become a liberated person in the proverbial prison, the confines of which they've been residing in, because their own ego has erected these bars that they are behind. They can break free of that. You give them the master key. You invite them to come out and enjoy the party of life, and you have a cup that runneth over. And that overflow, Ryan sees that. He loves it, man. You know, and he's got his wife, who we met in pharmacy school, and he's got his 13-year-old son. He has a younger son as well. And it's like, yes. 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 Ryan gets it, man. It resonates with Ryan. I didn't just talk to Ryan yesterday. I talked to his sons, to his wife, again, because Ryan is a node in a network. If you've never seen the movie Pay It Forward, I highly recommend watching that. It's something that really inspired me about a decade ago as well. So I hope you're seeing just how powerful the idea of pursuing excellence in whatever vehicle that happens to entail for you, having your sights set on something bigger, something better that changes you in the process, and that person that you become can move mountains, man. You can move mountains. You don't have to live a life like Jason Jr. You don't have to lock yourself inside of this closet with this little computer. I would geek out to these videos on actualize.org. And thanks to Leo Gura, I took this idea seriously, that I could level up in my life and really become a confident, competent, and capable individual who could hopefully inspire people to move to the promised land, to get to the other side of struggle, and to experience the serenity that I think we all deserve. So I hope you've seen this video as that invitation, as an invitation for you to explore the territory of life, to update your mental models of it, to become not just more effective at life, but to experience what I obsess with, inner peace, becoming a free entity and becoming at ease with yourself. That's it for today, my friend. I love you very much. I hope you're enjoying some of these extemporaneous riffs. Just been trying to get into the habit of this to offer you these transmissions that hopefully show you something powerful, something energetically undeniable that will give you the inspiration to give up who you are now for what you can become. That's it for today, my friend. I love you very much. And as always, until next time, find your freedom. Peace.